Oh, well. Are we recording? Okay, yeah. All right, so we're back. Welcome back. Yeah. All right, so plan for today, as I mentioned in the thingy, is I'm going until 9, and then Rapezak is coming to do the beginning of the year talk. So we're not going to start a Mishlei pasuk today. We're going to start Bli Neder Mishlei tomorrow, and then fall into the normal pattern of one day our analysis, one day Mefarshim. Okay, but I do want to do Shlomo Melech's Torah today. Okay, and this was occasioned by an occasion, as most things that are occasioned are. So I was thinking about these two psukim, really the second pasuk, but I think you have to read the first one. This is in Koheles, the first two psukim of Perek Shvi'i. Tov Shem Mishemen Tov V'Yom Hamavas Miyom Hivaldo. So a good name is better than good oil, and the day of death is better than the day of birth. Okay, and by the way, we're doing a light analysis of this. I don't want to spend 2 days on this, and we're not going to write out everything like we usually do. I'll use this as a springboard for discussion, I think. Okay, so that's the first one. Tov lelechas el beis evel milechas el beis mishteh ba'asher hu sof kol ha'adam v'hachai yitin el libo. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of partying, because that is the end of every man, and the living will take it to heart. So, anyone know why this was on my mind? Yeah. Why?
Marshall?
Yeah. So this is the pasuk. I'll explain in a second. This is the pasuk that comes up every time I have to make a decision whether to go to a funeral or to do my own thing. And the answer is pretty definitive here. Not that it's going to answer in every case, but like obviously people have different priorities and things that they need to do. But like if I'm going to be like doing nothing or like doing something like frivolous. Which I think Beis Mishlei doesn't specifically mean a party. I think it means like some chaye sha'a pleasure, So then better to go to a house of mourning. And we'll analyze it in a second, but like as a side point, I was happy to see that there were some Yeshiva guys here. I don't know who was on Zoom. And obviously, you have your own things that you had to do, but I just do want to make a plug for whenever you have the opportunity to go to either a levaya of a Talmid Chachamim or a levaya where Talmid Chachamim are giving the hesped, seize that opportunity. And if it's in your house and you're not going and you don't have anything better to do, then that's actually a mistake. And the amount I gained so much from going here. I didn't know Marshall Gisser's mom, Rabbi Gisser's mom, and I know him, but like we're not like particularly close or anything. But I gained so much from hearing his hesped in terms of ideas, in terms of he talked a lot about the YBT community and what that's meant for him and for his development. And you get a lot of like yeshiva lore also from that, and hearing about the ideas from Rebbe that he said, and then just hearing about like who his mom was. His mom. This is like the wild card in any levaya. If you don't know the person, you never really know what's going to be said about them. So I had no expectations going into that, and what I heard was amazing. Unfortunately, there's no recording, but I can relay to you some of it if you're interested. And then there's the obvious, I don't think this is a spoiler, there's the reminders of your mortality, right? And that's something that like is particularly beneficial. Well, it's beneficial at all times, particularly beneficial at the beginning of the Teshuvah season, which we're in now, So, okay, so let's just do some quick thoughts on questions and thoughts on these two psukim, just to get the discussion going, but then I want to take it in a particular direction.
Can I clarify, are you saying for our discussion to make a particular, like, analyzing the two psukim or analyzing the ideas that relate to these two psukim?
I don't.
As far as like, just to clarify my question,
yeah.
So like I know when we're doing Mishlei, I'll say like, well, what's the difference between like this thing and that? Like, why Shane versus?
So let me put it this way:
yeah.
We're doing a short analysis, so open-ended. Yeah, open-ended. Yeah, Isaac.
Better in what?
Okay, so that's the question you have to ask whenever you have a better pasuk, right? Tov this, me that, then better in what way? I think that's going to be one of the fundamental questions. Yeah, Yeshiva? Okay, good. Yeah, Ali?
Also seems to go against a lot of Koheles philosophy. Like, everything's Koheles, everything is.
Yeah. So I think
better, I guess, kind of.
Right. Let's talk out the Hava Amina, because that's really what you're. So I think it goes against a lot of Koheles philosophy, but also goes against like a certain, like intuitive. Okay, can anyone express the Havamina of the first pasuk that and let's again, let's not forget, let's put aside the good name and good oil. Oh, sorry, this is not the good, then good oil. Let's just talk about the day of death being better than the day of birth. What's the Havamina Yeah, Isaac.
That we should be like celebrating life and or something along those lines. And then yes, death happens, but like it's like a bad thing that we should like I don't really know. Think about it a little bit like it doesn't seem like there's any like positive in that. That would be better.
Positive in
So the day of death.
in death. Okay, all right, I hear that. Yeah, Yeshua.
Yeah, when someone's born, it's a joyous occasion, and when someone dies, it's a very sad occasion. And
Okay,
it's
that's
to think it,
that's definitely the most intuitive Havamina, right? Is that like usually we think of birth as joyous and death as tragic, right? What about in the context of like development and perfection? Can you say the Havamina? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is what maybe Isaac was saying, or maybe I'm gonna add on to that. Like, when someone's dead, it's like it's kind of over.
Right.
There's
Okay.
no opportunity for self-development. But
Right.
When someone's born, it's like a fresh start.
Okay. So yeah.
So it's like a wedding, it's like another.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. Again, this is not the only explanation, but that birth, you're at the moment of greatest potential, right? And there's so much that you can actually become and achieve. But then once you die, that's it. You can't develop anymore, So that to me, that's in a more perfection-based like framework, that's like a strong Havamina, right? So then how do we make sense of the fact that the day of death is better than the day of birth? Yeah, Yeshua?
it's for the people that's in there.
Okay, so one whole swath of Mefarshim takes that it is it's talking about from the perspective for the person. Obviously, it's better to be alive and being able to develop than not. But for the people who are present, this is a better day, and you can bring a strong proof from the next pasuk, right? That you're meant to read the first pasuk with the second one as a perush. Okay, yeah. Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let him go.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
There are unfortunately don't connect to
No, there are Mefarshim who connect the Pesukim, but there are Mefarshim who don't say that this is all talking about for the living, that it's better. Yeah.
And I remember, I forgot which levaya it was. Maybe it was like one of sons. I forgot who, but like Rebbe said that it was like it was like the last true opportunity for the mace. Do you remember that? Were you there?
The last teshuva opportunity for the mace. You mean on the day that he is dying?
At his levaya.
Well, I do remember at Rabbi Wolf's funeral.
Oh yeah, was it? It was.
I remember tshuva opportunity. That would shock me if
It
Rebbe
was
said that.
something along.
I remember
those lines.
him saying the other shocking statement that the dead can hear you give the hespedim.
Yeah, but it was.
Yeah.
It's had to do with.
Okay, I don't recall that, but
Okay,
yeah.
well,
Yeah, I mean, because that's obviously a problematic statement, right? That you can do tshuva after you've died, but yeah, halavai, but that definitely, yeah, that's
I'll ask.
okay,
Rebbe what
sure.
it meant, because when he said it, I was shocked also.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to share just two. I'm still working on this, by the way. I told you that I would do whatever I was in the mood for this morning. So like, I was just like looking into this morning. Did not prepare this. I was going to do something else, in fact. But so I want to show you two mefarshim or two pirushim. First one is a good shot of the pasuk. Second one is a good idea, which is not the shot of the pasuk. Okay, so the Ibn. Oh no, this is the Ibn Ezra. Hold on, I wanted the Ibn or the Mahari Kra. Okay, so he says. Yom Hamavas Miyom Hivaldo, the day of death is better than the day of birth. Dalacha, you should know, Shekashem Shetchilas Hamikra Beish Tzadik Hakasav Medaber, that just as the beginning of the pasuk is talking about a tzaddik, because he's saying a person who has a good name, right? Meaning that they did something good with their lives. Af Sofo Shel Mikra B'Tzadik Medaber. So too, the end of the pasuk is talking about for a tzaddik. Okay, so for the tzaddik, the day of death is better than the day of birth. Okay, we'll see that in a second. Of Adam Rasha. But a wicked man, in yom misaso tov lo miyom hivaldo. The day of his death is not better for him than the day of his birth. Lefishi yom hivaldo adain lo chata, because when he was born, he still had not sinned. In yodim masaf, and we don't know his actions. Of all yom misaso, you're doing masaf, but on the day of his death, his actions are known. Of all tzadik yom hivaldo in masaf yuduim. The tzaddik on the day of his birth, his actions are not known. About yom misaso nisbaru masav hatovim shekvar kana leolamo. Then his good actions are clarified because he's acquired his world. So that's similar to the approach that we're taking developmentally. That for the person, the day of death is better. And I don't know if you've heard of the distinction between two types of virtues that you can be working on in your life. resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Have you heard that distinction?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know where I heard it from. So I just Googled it, and I found a 5-minute TED Talk, which I listened to. And the guy, I don't know who the guy is, David Brooks, but the whole thing is him quoting the Rav and talking about like he raises the idea from the Rav and gives the answer based on the Rav. So I'll send it out. Yeah.
It's like it's the Rav or
Yeah, there's a man named Joseph Soloveitchik, and he wrote a book called The Lonely Man of Faith, and Adam 1 and Adam 2, and I was like, okay, I did not expect that. yeah, but I think that it is
It's called the Rob.
yeah, he did not call him the Rav, but I think that's something that is something to keep in mind. Oh, actually, sorry. I'm gonna save this to deploy after we do the Ibn Ezra. Any questions on this part right now? Let me just catch you up on. So we're doing these 2 psukim in Koheles, just in a light analysis. Tov Shem Mishem and Tov Yom Hamav Miyom Hivaldo. Better a good name than good oil. Good oil what's proud of good oil, by the way?
Well,
oh, interesting.
Sustenance.
Interesting. No, that's not the plain shot.
Beauty and cosmetic.
Yeah, it's like cologne, basically perfume. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes good oil is like wealth because it's a valuable commodity, but I hear it's I don't know how we know that, maybe based on another use of it in Koheles. Yom hamavis miyom hivaldo, and the day of death is better than the day of birth. Better to go to a house of mourning than a house of partying, because that's the end of every man and the living will take it to heart. Yeah.
I think those probably wouldn't use shaman, like individually.
Yeah, you could say gold,
Yeah.
right? Something like that, or something more less ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was listing a few different. Like,
Yeah, we had a bunch of Mishlei that listed like Shemin and
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess on
Just a second, Mati. The day good oil is a good name is better than good oil, and the day of death is better than the day of birth. Yeah, Chaim.
on
Rikra, Marikra, reviews of Kara. Yeah.
it's interesting. He seems to be saying that the first pasuk is not about one person in particular; it's about the Russia and the tzaddik.
Yeah.
And then,
Or it's about the tzaddik,
but
in
he's also-
contrast to the Russia.
Okay, so he's contrasting it to Russia, but not shot in the pasuk.
So he's trying to get shot in the pasuk.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in his shot in the pasuk, there's 2 people at the pasuk. So I'm not.
I don't think so. I think he's saying that a good name, meaning what you do with your life, like what you've made of your life, is better than good oil, which he has not. We didn't read his explanation of the good oil part. And the day of death for the tzaddik is better than the day of birth for the tzaddik, because by the day of death, then he has his actions all acquired. Yeah.
In terms of the parallelism, right,
Yeah.
of the name and the oil,
Yeah.
right, and then the death and birth,
Yeah.
it seems like that, especially if we're translating the oil as like a perfume,
Yeah.
right, which is something that is like more presentative of a person and not like essential or a integral part of them.
Yeah.
So then perhaps part of the character of death is that it's like the final definition of you,
Mhm.
right? So that's more in essence you
Yeah.
than just as your name is more in essence you than.
That's a good shot. I think that's a good shot. Yeah. So just to clarify, when you say for the oil part, are you saying it's the fact that it is external, or the fact that it's present for other people?
Both.
Both.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Oil is something that like the perfumes present you in a certain way,
Yeah.
right? But the presentation of you is not actually you. It's the thing that is coming along.
Okay, I hear.
Like distinguish you.
Yeah.
Right. But the real thing that you want to be the essence is the you, not
Yeah.
the thing that is. You don't want your perfume to be the thing that people remember.
Right,
You want
hopefully
you
not.
to be the thing
Yeah.
that people remember.
Even the
right?
people who have perfumes named after them don't want that to be their essence. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess perhaps similarly,
Yeah.
you don't want your birth or like your innocence in the beginning to be what people remember you by, but like,
Mhm.
like not where you're coming from, but where you ended up.
Right.
To be the
Okay,
thing
that's
that
good.
people remember you
Yeah,
by.
that's a good shot also. Okay, I want to move on to the non-shot. Okay, how do I know this is a non-shot? Because Ibn Ezra says, he'll say, okay, so Ibn Ezra, so first he says, V'yesh mefarish v'yom hamaves. He says, Chayav adam shiyale al libo yom hamaves mi yom hivaldo. A person is obligated to bring to mind the day of death from the day of his birth. Okay, meaning from the day you were born, like from the time you start off, you should remember that you're going to die. Okay, very stoic, right? Memento Mori. Okay, inyan ba'atzmo tov. This idea is good in and of itself. Lachain inenu mi'inyan hapasuk. I don't think it's supposed to say lachain. like aval inenu me'inyan hapasuk, but it's not in the theme of the pasuk. Okay, so and the reason why I think is because he's saying it doesn't fit into the pasuk, and also it's a stretch to read it as like tov shem. Mem means from, or it means then. Clearly, in the first half of the pasuk, it means then. A good name is better than good oil. Not a good name is better from oil. So saying the day of death from the day of birth doesn't really make sense. So I'll tell you, so this is why I wanted to focus on this for today. Okay, so obviously this is the first day of yeshiva, right? And I was thinking and I'm going to stereotype here, okay? So I hope no one takes offense. And if you do, then we could duke it out. I think it is objectively harder for most of you to think about your own day of death because of your age. And I think that the older you get, and the more you're, the more life you've seen, the more your body starts to age, then you start to, and also the more people who have died, especially of old age. Like one of the things that I was thinking about was when I was at the levaya on Monday, I'm looking around, and I think is now my 21st year here, and which is crazy to think about. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, when did everyone get so old? To me, being here constantly, you just don't notice. And I'm like, and especially I think certain people I hadn't seen since pre-pandemic, and I'm like, when did they get white hair? When did this person get and it's a thing. And also, this is not the first yeshiva funeral that I've been to. So when you just recall back all these people dying, so I was trying to think about, is there a way, and there are many ways, but is, for you to, at a younger age, to think about the fact that you're going to die. So here's what I'm thinking about, and we're going to go off on a drasha tangent right here. But in a way, each day of life, sorry, not each day of life, but I think you can put your life into chapters, right? There are certain chapters in your life. Sometimes those are defined by events, by ages, by where you are. And the drasha here is that you have, for many of you this year in yeshiva, for some of you less than a year, some of you unknown, right? And I think that when you think about that distinction between the resume virtues and the eulogy virtues, and you think about the shem tov, not the shem tov that you get when you're going to die, but when you look back on yourself at the end of this year or this time period, right? What do you want your acquisitions to have been? Do you want to look at yourself again? Treat this as though it's an analogy of the death. Not that leaving yeshiva means you die, but it's the death of I mean, not all of you, but some of you know my pshat of living each day as if it's your last, which is statistically, that's not true. Statistically, you are going to live tomorrow, but this is the last time you are going to have this particular day, so in that sense, it's a full lifetime. And I forgot which of the Stoics talk about that each day is you should live it as though it's a full lifetime. So certainly this chapter here. And I think the notion of thinking about the day of death from the day of birth is critical. I've been talking with, I have my weeks of my life chart. I encourage Yeshua, since he's only going to be here until December, to count out the weeks. I don't know if you saw, but on the chart that I put on the on the fridge, how many weeks approximately do we have for the year? Weeks of yeshiva.
37.
Close. So I don't know exactly because it depends on how you count weeks. Approximately 35. Okay, right? You have approximately 12. Right. And it's a scary thing when you look at the number of weeks and you look at how you use each week. And I think having some sort of reflection on the week, which you're probably going to have, at the end of the week, is going to be instrumental for helping you to keep this in mind. But again, keeping in mind the end from the beginning of what am I making of myself during this time, I think is going to help you to make better decisions here. And again, the tendency is you push it out of your mind, and you just don't think about it, or you feel like you have infinite time, or you make all these elaborate plans, but you're the only being who doesn't have to worry about time is God. You have to operate in time. And I think I was telling Yeshua, I think the time that ironically, the time when this idea first hit me was there was a year in Shalhevet when I was going to be giving a Koheles shiur. That year they were splitting up into trimesters. I was going to teach one group for a third of the year, another group for a third of the year. And I had all these grand plans for teaching Koheles, and then I made a chart, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I found out I had 11 weeks and 2 lessons per week. And I was like, wow, this is a discrete, distinct, like finite entity. And like each one is like, I use that opportunity and that's it. And here's the other scary thing. You don't even know if you have all those weeks, right? I mean, in a grand sense, you don't know if you have all the weeks because of something that could happen, to end your life. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying like, you could get, COVID and like, and like be out for a week, or you can have to go home for a family like emergency or something. What was that?
They could be a fire.
There could be a fire drill.
It was like half plus.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I thought you meant for yeshiva and like losing a week, but I was like that would be some fire drill. But yeah, in Yeshiva that happened all the time, right? Yeah. So like I think so. The question is like this. The question is, how are you going to keep this in your awareness without letting it fade, or without letting it or without pushing it out of your mind, and that's a personal question, and I'm here to help you with it, and again, with certain of us, we have worked out like a system, but like, how are you going to keep in mind like how much time you have left, and if you catch yourself slipping, then what are you going to do about it, yeah.
Having a screensaver, you're gonna die.
That is good. And here's what's the most immediate answer is Rabbi Feder Shir yesterday, right? Is I think that, hopefully that you either listen to the Shir or you're going to listen to the Shir, but not to spoil it, but every sneeze is an opportunity to remember this idea. All right, the Shir was about sneezing, and I think someone asked me after yesterday, like, do you think that's going to become a trend in yeshiva to say Gesundheit or L'chaim or Marpe or Asuta when someone sneezes? And I said, I hope so, because anything you could convert into a reminder of the limited time that you have, either in life or in yeshiva, is useful. And I think if you listen to that shir, it's a great tool. I also wanted to just say one more thing as well, and this is not directly connected, but I think when you're talking about, okay, we're all going to fail, right? I think we should, right? We're all going to fail in our plans, and it's not a failure if you learn from it, right? Like if you take it as a data point and say, well, what can I learn about myself for going forward? But I'm saying we're going to feel like it's a failure. Okay. So I think that there's, a lot of fear, shame, and guilt that come from perceived failures. And fear, shame, and guilt can often interfere with actual, like, rational thinking about your plans. But I think one Mishlei thing to keep in mind is this pasuk, which we actually did when we were doing the cues on the late psukim last year. Im chachamta chachamta lach v'latzta levadecha tisa. If you have become wise, you have become wise for yourself. But if you have latzta, so late is a mocker or scorner, then you alone will bear, and then people say will bear your punishment. Okay. So the problem here is like, I get it. If you become wise, you become wise for yourself, right? It's like a beneficial thing. But first of all, late is not the opposite of gaining chachma, right? Seemingly plain shot. Is it someone who, anyone remember the definition of late? Yeah, but what's aggressive and arrogant, right? Late Zayd v'Yahir late Shemo. So the arrogant, haughty, the arrogant, aggressive person or malicious person, late is his name, right? So that doesn't quite fit into the pasuk, okay? But if you'll remember, there was one quality of the lates that I think does fit the pasuk.
Wait, this pasuk?
Yeah, that fits this pasuk. Yeah, there was another quality which was not talked about in so many psukim. Yeah, he does scorn Tochacha. That is true, and you could say that if this is talking about Mishlei Chachma, then that fits perfectly. Yeah, I had a different approach, but yeah. So the lates was someone who was what Chazal call a Yoshev Kranos, a corner sitter, an idler, or in English we would say a bum, right? Not a bum in the socioeconomic sense, but a bum in the, like, you're not doing anything with your life, right? So that's actually, I think, how the Radak is taking it. You tell me if I'm projecting into the Radak. Im chachamta dabini, you should know, my son. Im lamadta chachma. If you have learned chachma, in shum adam yachol lakachta mimnecha. No one can take it from you. Okay, well that's like what that's a true acquisition. And the benefit is for you. The in latsta, but if you have latsta, what does that mean? So he does not translate it as if you have mocked, but he says klomar shetase maase haletin. You've engaged in lates-like behavior. Ata levadcha tisa haonesh. You alone will bear the punishment. Okay. Now he does not explain what the lates-like behavior is, but I would say that the drop-down menu of lates-like behavior, which one is the most opposite to gaining chachma? It's scorning chachma or idling and not using your time for chachma, So in a very Mishlaic way, I would suggest that if you do fail in your plans for how to use this year on a small scale, first of all, not first of all, but 0th of all, I'm here to help. That's why I'm here. Okay, so come to me, we'll talk, we'll make a plan. Okay, but for your own sake, the first thing you should do is just learn from the failure. Like if I slept in, why did I sleep in? If I was not consistent, why? What was the cause? Or like, what can I do? Or what signals did I miss? To get me, to lead me here. What am I going to do next time to help? But I think in order to deal with the fear, the guilt and the shame, which is going to either come or both come from without and from within. It's going to come from your peers, right? In a healthy way, in the sense that like, we're all here to like learn and use our time. But if you have a healthy sense of your values, it's going to come from within you, So what you should do with that, I think, is put it into concrete, practical terms of, I lost out on an opportunity. You're never going to get that day of chachma back, right? And we all know, we've all been, I think it's safe to say this, we've all been in situations where you attend a critical shiur or a critical chavrusa, which plants an idea in your mind that changes the actual course of your week, month, year, life, And when that happens, I always find it to be useful to look back and see myself as having veered from a cliff. If I had chosen to just stay in bed or to cancel the chavrusa, I would have missed out on that like particular life-changing thing. Now, that does not mean that you should never cancel a chavrusa. Like, you have to be practical, but I think you have to know yourself. And certain of us err on this, or certain of us are. It's not a secret. I'm a workaholic, so I like view it as though the world is going to end if I cancel anything, and that's what I have to work on. But I think yourself. If you're on that side, or if you're on the side of you're going to default to canceling things and to skipping out. And there are many techniques that you can use to maintain that. And I'm just going to share one of them. I already shared this, I think, in the self-improvement chat, which I think all of us are in. But this is a new technique that I came up with. I'm calling it "How about half?" Okay, which is if you have a commitment to do a certain thing, okay, and you feel yourself inclined to skip it, just ask yourself, "How about half?" Okay, and just do half, or how about one, right? And the two examples in my mind, in my life right now that I'm using this for are, I was trying to build up to, see, I'm already talking past tense. I am trying to build up to getting back to a half an hour of meditation a day. And there have been days, even though Yeshiva hasn't started yet, there have been days when I've just wanted to skip it. And I tell myself, how about half? And I do 15 minutes, The other example is I've been wanting to get back into journaling, and I want to do 10 minutes of journaling a day. But there have been times where I'm just too exhausted to productively do that. So I say, how about one sentence? And what you do is you do the one sentence and then you keep the streak going, So like, rather than, it's the conscience that makes everything into an all or nothing ordeal, that you have to do everything or nothing. Chachma dictates that it's not, that most of reality doesn't work in an all or nothing way. If you can't get 100, get 90. If you can't get 90, get 50, get 10, like get something, and even 5 minutes of learning, like it's the most irrational thing. If let's say like you sleep through a nap or whatever, that you had designated to learn for an hour and you have 5 minutes left and you're like, oh, no point in doing anything now. What do you mean no point in doing anything now? Do something for 5 minutes. You can gain chachma in 5 minutes. Review an idea, open the Mishlei puzzle, like look at it, like do something for 5 minutes. I'm going to end here. I did want to hear what you have to say, but I don't want to take into Pesach's time.
Yeah, I can say.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so here's to a year of good learning, and Bli Neder, tomorrow we'll start Mishlei. Okay.
Do you know the Atomic Habits?
Did I read the book?
No, did you get it?